At 2.4 million deaths in 2019, India led the world in pollution-related deaths in that year, according to Lancet Commission on Pollution and Health. The Lancet analysis blames pollution of all types for 9 million deaths a year globally. That's 1 in 6 deaths. The death toll attributed to dirty air from cars, trucks and industry has risen 55% since 2000. That's what the study has found. India and China have led the world in pollution deaths with nearly 2.4 million and almost 2.2 million deaths a year respectively in India and China. But the two nations also have the world's largest populations. So India leading the world in pollution deaths. Let's go across to Vivek Chattopadhyay, who is joining us right now to analyze this report and its finding from and the report's findings. He's the Senior Program Manager of Clean Air Campaign at the Center for Science and Environment. Thank you, Vivek, for joining us this morning. Vivek, these figures are quite worrisome. Why, after such tall talk about combating pollution, are we getting these worrying statistics?
I think definitely our action is far behind what is expected to reduce the health implications. It's not just the deaths that are happening. People are leading, many people, children are affected because of air pollution. They are going to, and probably they will develop respiratory problems and other health problems. So there is a risk of illness as well as there is a risk, high risk of deaths because of air pollution. And what is worrying is that India is not progressing. While it is progressing on improving the economic aspects and other aspects, we are not putting our efforts as well as seriousness in pollution control efforts. And in most of the sectors, you would see that we are falling far behind in what should be done in terms of reducing pollution. And that is the main reason we have weak standards for the industries, for the power plants. Also, we are not able to deal with the toxic and chemical pollution that is happening. And the only solution is having a program that works on the ground. Although we have the National Clean Air Program, it is not helping us to deal with the problem although the plans are being made, but mostly are on the papers. And there has to be independent evaluation on a continuous basis that where the pollution is coming from and how it has to be reduced. So
right.
all these are
Vivek, some would argue that the death rate is, Vivek, some would argue that the death rate is lower in India than in 15 other countries. And also, India has a large population. Also, overall population death tally has dropped from 2.5 million in 2015 to 2.35 million now in 2019. So some would argue the population is so large, death rate is lower than in 15 other countries, but still this is a significant number.
Yeah, definitely. I think the statistics should not be looked at only from the death rate, and each life matters. If we have the focus on that every life matters and every illness matters, then only we will be able to solve the problem. Otherwise, looking at the numbers without that context and without that significance given to the saving the lives, I think that should be the focus. And globally, wherever the action has happened, they always look at the vulnerable population, like children, elderly people, as well as the working population. If they are affected, what is going to happen to the economy? What is going to happen to the well-being of the people? I think those factors need to come into play, not just plain statistics about the numbers. And many things get unreported, like people may not associate what their health problems are happening. They might be linked with air pollution. So they may think that this is the problem because of some other illness, like people suffer from triggering asthma. People in polluted city like Delhi often suffer from respiratory illness. And many people die also, but doctors do not associate deaths with the air pollution. It is difficult to connect the linkage. They may report cardiac arrest and other implications. So government has to take it seriously. The studies also conduct its own study countrywide and like in different hubs of the city which are growing very fast. And if the action is not taken, what is going to be the future be? Because many studies also point out that while we are talking about improving the GDP, our GDP growth may suffer tremendously if we don't improve the on air quality and other aspects of the pollution.
Yes. Yes. Vivek, the report also says that there is an increase in deaths from modern types of pollution like the ambient air and the toxic chemical pollution that is overshadowing the progress made in reducing pollution deaths associated with poverty like household air and water pollution. Talk to us about this modern types of pollution that we have to guard against.
The modern type of pollution is highly toxic because it is it is emitted because of the fossil fuel combustion. While the household pollution used to be, it has been traditionally because of solid fuel. That is also very toxic for the women and the children. Definitely clean fuel solutions must be working. Especially LPG, improved chula, ventilation, and all those aspects, and those are helping. That is a good thing. But we, at the same time, if the LPG prices go on so high, that how we are going to support the poor households, that should be also our concern. But the major thing that is appearing that modern forms of pollution, like we don't talk about ozone that is formed in the atmosphere because of reaction of nitrogen oxides and volatile organics. This is a new form of problem that we haven't still thought about. There are carcinogens, like, for example, benzene. Very minute amount can trigger cancer on the long-term exposure. So there is a variety of toxic chemicals thrown out in the air in the form of different combustion products and other things. And we are not having an action specific to those problems. So we talk about particulate matter or broadly about the pollutants, but we don't talk about those toxics. So I think the focus has to be happen on this modern form of pollution, and then only we will be able to target where it is coming from and how to reduce it.
Yes. Vivek, let's talk about solutions now that just don't remain on paper but work on the ground. You know, what can, for example, people like you and me do, and what solutions can there be on a larger policy level that authorities and the governments can implement?
See, definitely not being part of the pollution, causing the pollution, and being aware of the surroundings, that wherever the pollution is happening, demanding that should be action should be taken against those, and making the government and the local representatives as well as the our politicians responsible, accountable for that thing. I think that should be part of the community action. They have to be more aware and they should not take part in the polluting activities. That is one thing. But at the same time, certain things are beyond control. If your vehicle technology is poor, definitely you have to have standards which improves the technology. Power plants are beyond individuals' control. Those are emission standards. Norms have to be notified by the government and enforced by the government, and all the power plants have to adhere to it. That should definitely happen. There are a variety of industries of different sizes, like small scale, medium scale, large scale industries. Pollution control is very weak in several cases. So I think enforcing the regulations, having the clean fuel solution spread across different parts of the India, and wherever it is the industrial growth is happening, and also in undocumented areas where the illegal industries are operating, our focus should be on that. In urban areas, in most of the urban areas, we are seeing that public transport is declining at a very fast rate. We are not investing on public transport, although government's major chunk on infrastructure improvement is going just on roads and highways. We all know that if we just build roads and highways, we will see more influx of vehicles rather than public transport. So I think the focus should not limit to infrastructure just without looking at the public transport needs. So last mile connectivity, these are variety of solutions which are known as well as We have to identify more solutions specific to the action, and then only it can happen. And we have to hold our like public offices accountable for clean air. For example, individual polluting can be challan or penalty can be imposed, but a city continuously exceeding the air pollution doesn't faces any challan or any penalty in the current context. So I think the mechanism of governance and accountability is very important.
All right, Vivek Chattopadhyay, there are important points made by you. Let's see if those are implemented on the ground and we see real difference emerging in these figures coming down in the years to come. Thanks, Vivek, for joining us this morning.